There are people who scream because they're hurting. And then there are people who become so skilled at surviving, nobody ever notices the pain. This episode of Girl Talk Mental Health, I am joined by therapist Lynda Carmouche, and she dives into the hidden reality of trauma that learned how to behave. So let's welcome her to the stage.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, tell the audience a little bit about who you are, ma'am.
My name is Lynda Carmouche, and I have been a therapist. This month makes 30 years I've been in the mental health field. I am an Amazon. Yes, yes. I am an Amazon #1 best-selling author of my book, Polished Pain: The Cost of Burnout and Unresolved Trauma. And at this stage, and every stage when I really think about it of my career, I have really geared all of my work toward helping people to heal, really heal, and be the best version of themselves in spite of what they have endured in life.
Ooh, wow. Sound like we about to have some good conversation.
Let's go ahead and get into it.
Are you ready? You ready, ready?
Let's go. Let's
Okay.
go.
So when you say trauma that learned how to behave, what does that actually mean? Because that's an interesting way to put it.
Yes, when I say trauma that learned how to behave, it's the pain that we experience. It stopped acting out publicly, but it never actually healed. I want you to think about a child and how sometimes you can take that child and you can bring that child in public and that child will cut all the way up. But sometimes you have a child who they will not embarrass you publicly, but behind the scenes in the house, when we get home, they're cutting up at the house.
Mhm.
When you think about trauma that has learned how to behave, we allow it to be packaged in a way that publicly we show up one way, but privately our story is totally different. We're dressed up on the outside, but on the inside, we're hurting, we're bleeding, we're struggling. We're out here helping everybody else, and it looks like we're thriving. But at home, on the inside of us, we're struggling to just survive. That's what I mean by trauma that has learned how to behave.
And that's a good analogy too. I bet you people really understood from that analogy. So what about this? So many people believe that trauma always looks chaotic, just like what you were saying on the outside. Some people cut up on the outside and they think it look chaotic or dysfunctional. And how can trauma actually make someone appear strong, responsible, and successful?
Ooh, that's such a good question. We have been fooled to believe when we think of not only trauma, but when you think of mental health, we have packaged it as something that is totally dysfunctional. But the reality is, survival can actually become a really usable, performative skill set. For many high functioning people, trauma created a hyper independent overachievement. They become people pleasers, they become perfectionists, they learn how to suppress their emotion. You're never going to see them cry. I'm the strong one. We always have to hold it together. What the world calls strong is sometimes a person who never felt safe enough to fall apart.
I call it the strong but silently struggling.
Ooh, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Sometimes when you have experienced trauma, you feel like you don't have time to stop and deal with it. So the trauma doesn't disappear, it doesn't go away. What we do is we suppress it and we give it a different face. We teach it how to behave in public, and then in private, it becomes something that it isn't. Trauma can absolutely wear a suit. It can wear red bottoms. It can carry a Louis Vuitton bag. It can drive a Bentley. So we have to get away from this idea that trauma and mental health is something that looks broken and torn down.
And what about people like they think that if they just keep going and going, which is what that success is, all those high level things, you the Louis Vuittons, the Bentleys, and they just keep running, running, running from the trauma. Eventually, it catches up. Sometime along the line, you go slow down in life, and then all those thoughts go come bombarding you all at once.
Yes, yes. Because what we do is we do things to substitute to cover up that pain. We do things, we excel really well. We go back to school and we get more degrees and we become very educated. And while it's nothing wrong with that, what is the driving force behind it? Because to what you're saying, at some point you're going to have to stop and deal with it. That stop and deal with it might be a divorce. That stop and deal with it might be the loss of a job. The stop and deal with it might be anger. It may be substance abuse. It may be a sex addiction. It's a lot of things that can come into play when you talk about not dealing with that pain.
Oh, that's good. That what you said about the stop and deal with it, because most of the time when people think about those addictions and the voices and the negative things, they don't see it as a hey, that's your attention getter to stop and think about what's going on for real. They think, oh, poor me, my life is tragic. This other person did this other person did that, and they
Yeah.
never realize. And that's a good point. That's like getting your attention to stop and think.
Yes, yes. One of the things I say, I teach a lot, especially in with leaders, burnout is not the problem. We have coined burnout as a problem. Burnout is not the problem, it's the proof. It's the proof that we have been carrying something or some things so long that now our body, our mind, our spirit is trying to signal us and tell us, hello, we have something that we're carrying that we have not dealt with. When you think about burnout, to shift just a little bit, we've been taught by culture that burnout is working too much or not enough vacation. So answer this for me, Virginia. If that is truly the case, why do you go on vacation and have an amazing time, come home and say, I need a vacation from the vacation?
Wait a minute, I'm gonna have to stop you because you all in my closet, okay? You doing all you talking about me right there. There's all this stuff. This episode, this for me, okay, y'all. I'm sorry, but she made this one just for me. You all in my closet, girl. And
You
I
know,
don't know. That's a good question. Can you answer it for me?
yes, the reason is because burnout is not just about working too much. Burnout is not just about taking a vacation. What I have found in my research is a lot of the root of what is driving our burnout are all the things that we're carrying that we never dealt with. And some of that we've been carrying since childhood.
You know what? I can't wait till the next few questions so you can give me some, like I say, me, but give us some tips and tools because, child, that burnout, we do think about it as we doing too much, and that's good. I wrote that down where you said burnout is not the problem, it's the proof.
Yes,
That's quotable. That's your next book right there.
yes, yes, yes,
And so, think talking about books. So you talk about something called polished pain because that's the name of your book, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So how does that concept connect? Put it. Okay, there we go. If y'all want to order it, I hope she putting it in the descriptions with her bio because there it is.
yes,
I like that cover. That is beautiful.
yes. Polished pain.
So how does that concept connect to trauma that has learned to behave?
Well, and I'll give you a quick analogy using the cover of my book because I was very intentional about it. You see the heart, and if you look really close, you can see that this is the part that we show the world. It's polished, it's nice, it's well put together. This is the part that there's trauma that has never been dealt with. We don't show the world this. But if you look closely enough, at some point, what is over here is going to start cracking what's over there. You see, we are a person. We cannot divide the inner from the outer. Whatever is in me, eventually it's going to come out of me.
Mm.
So when I talk about polished pain, it's what happens when people learn how to perform through pain instead of processing it. It's the smile that hides the exhaustion. It's the productivity that hides the emotional depletion. It's the leadership that hides the loneliness. So we have to begin to deal with the inside so that we are not performing on the outside, but we're truly showing up as our authentic selves.
Oh, that is good. And I love that book cover, the way you mapped it out like that. That's very strategic and very intentional and research based. So we know you know your stuff, honey. So speaking of these Louis Vuittons and high price purses and cars and stuff like that, why do high achievers, because that's who they are, I'm guilty myself, and the strong ones often become experts at hiding their emotional wounds?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons why. When you look at, I'm going to call us the strong one. When you look at the strong one, sometimes we do it because we've always had to be the strong one. Sometimes we do it because we were taught that's what you do. We've been taught you don't show emotions because showing emotions means you're weak. Sometimes it's that we had no other choice because nobody was there for us and we had to be that person. Sometimes it becomes the fuel in the car that drives the car and the car is us. Somewhere along the way, we learned that being needed, being the strong one, was safer than being vulnerable. What does it look like being a CEO, but I'm able to cry when I have a loss?
Right.
To me, that's being healthy and is being human, but that's oftentimes culture says, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
The strong ones are people oftentimes that everybody depends on. And I'll use therapists for an example. We're both therapists. At work, our clients depend on us and they should. But many of us go home and the family depends on us.
Hmm.
Not that they shouldn't, but then we go to our friends, they depend on us. We go to church, they're pulling and depending on us. At some point, the human behind the helper has to be helped.
Okay. You preaching
So,
today.
so, so after years of carrying everybody else's stuff, we start to believe that this is just what it is and we don't need anybody to help us. We don't need any support or we don't need to prioritize us. And I'm going to tell you that it has become so toxic in many of the high achievers' lives to the point they feel guilty for prioritizing what they need. You should
Absolutely.
not feel guilty for needing rest.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
Come on, somebody. So we should not feel guilty that we're saying no because we need to just stop and slow down. When we get to that point, clearly we're headed toward burnout and clearly we're polishing our pain.
Clearly. Absolutely. Well, I think
Yeah.
this is a perfect point to have a commercial. And while we're on the commercial, I want the viewers to think about, not because she gave us so much. This is related to men and women too, but women, we have it bad. So, what are some signs? While we're away, think about this. Write it down in your journal. As you can see, I'm taking plenty of notes myself. So, what are some signs you have that you may be well on the outside, but have unresolved trauma on the inside? And then when we come back, guess what? She's going to give you the answers to those questions. So, go ahead and do a little quick minute journal, and we'll be right back for the second half of Girl Talk Mental Health.
Welcome to the Girl Talk Mental Health. Girl Talk Mental Health dares to go where others won't. We unpack the hard truths about mental health dissect trending topics, and challenge the stereotypes and stigmas holding us back. From navigating the 6 dimensions of wellness to redefining social norms, this is more than a discussion. It's a revolution in how we care for our minds and souls. Ready for bold, honest conversations that spark change? Let's dive in. It's time for real talk with real impact.
All right, welcome back, and I hope you did your quick 1 minute journal entry, because Lynda, therapist Carmouche, I know you said it a fancy way. I said Carmouche, but excuse me, because you know, got that little fancy way you said it. She is going to give you the answer to those questions and help you to, pinpoint some things that you need to do. With that being said, what are some subtle signs someone may be functioning well on the outside but carrying unresolved trauma internally?
Well, that's good. Before I dive into some of those signs, I want to give a little snippet that I think is going to help the viewers. A lot of times when we look at our life, and we don't want to call it mental health, we don't want to call it emotional health because of the stigma, and that's okay. I want to break it down. We often look at the symptoms. I'm tired. I'm always going. People are always pulling on me. Those are all what we look at and call symptoms. Behind every symptom, there is a root. I want you to begin as we talk about the signs, the subtle signs. What is the root that is connected to this thing that I wrote in my journal? So one of the things is being emotionally disconnected even when you're in a relationship. When you look at, well, I'm emotionally disconnected, a lot of the times what we do, Virginia, is we say, well, this might not be the person for me. Well, if you've been emotionally disconnected in the last 5 relationships, it's not that other
It's
person.
not that other person.
I'm going to challenge you to ask yourself, where did this emotional disconnection start? What is the root of it? And sometimes it goes all the way back to, well, mama worked a lot, daddy worked a lot, and I never got the emotional connection I needed as a 4, 5, or 6-year-old girl or boy. And that has carried into adult relationships. But I'm not going to dig any deeper on that. I want to give you some more subtle signs. Feeling guilty.
That's a whole nother episode in
That's
itself.
a whole nother episode. Feeling guilty when it's time for you to, when you know that your body and your mind is asking you to rest, you keep going because you feel guilty about stopping. Feeling like you should always be busy doing something. You can't sit down. Being celebrated in public, but feeling empty when you're in private. You got the award, you got the raise, you got the position, but you walk away and you still don't feel fulfilled. High achievement, but low internal peace. You perform very well in your career, but inside, you still are not fulfilled. Always taking care of everybody else, but you struggle when other people take care of you, or you need help and you refuse to ask for help, oftentimes to your detriment. Those are subtle signs that you can look for. Feeling needed everywhere, but you don't ever feel seen.
Hi, why you in my closet now? Come on now, get out of my closet.
Feeling needed. And sometimes we don't call it feeling needed. I got to be honest with you. Sometimes it's saying things like, I'm always the one that leads. Well, why do you always lead? Who gave you that position? Is it because you're positioning yourself to be needed and people are accepting your offer? So I think we really have to step back and do some self-examination. All of us, you, me, even though I have studied the content, I know the content, I also have to self-examine because our lives are complex. And
Hmm.
as we go into different stages of life, we have to reevaluate again, check in with ourselves, and ask what are really these symptoms that I keep dealing with that I have not been able to resolve.
Yeah, that's good. So y'all should have, if y'all wrote that stuff on your list, the ones, those subtle signs that she just gave the examples of, then of course you need to rewatch this show because she gave all of the answers, most of the answers at the beginning of the show, and she for sure still giving you some nuggets right now. So you got to go back and rewatch. That's what you have to do. Me too. I've been taking notes. I'm gonna have to rewatch this episode a couple of times. So how does trauma that has been managed or hidden eventually show up in that burnout and emotional exhaustion and disconnection in relationships?
Ooh, how much time does we have, Virginia? Do we have? How
Well,
much?
I told you we're going to need another whole nother episode. Get them the
You
quick version because they need to go get your book. They need to connect with you. They need to watch this over again anyway.
Look, so because eventually the body does start telling the truth about what our mouth has avoided, sometimes our body knows and we refuse to just say the truth about what we're experiencing. You can suppress emotions, but suppression is very expensive. At some point, you're going to pay the cost. That can be irritability, that can be numbness, chronic exhaustion. It's one thing to be tired because you had a long weekend. It's another thing that you go to bed, you wake up and you're always tired even after you've gotten sleep. Anxiety, disconnection, you're having difficulty concentrating, fatigue, you're not eating, you're overeating, emotionally you're shut down, you're disconnected from the things that bring you joy. There are so many signs that tells us we need to stop and deal with what we're really feeling.
And I like that what you said about suppression is expensive because actually, like in April, our theme was how your mental health is your wealth.
Ooh,
People see how they connected. Give them a tip of what you can give them about that mental health is your wealth because that was a nugget that you said right there. Suppressing that is keeping you from your wealth, really.
it is. And that's your physical wealth, your emotional wealth, your financial wealth. When your mental health is not right, when your mental wellness, I like to say mental wellness for everybody, when you are not well mentally, your wealth is being stunned. There are so many things you can't even focus. How you gonna go get your bag when you can't focus? It's real simple. When you are not mentally well, your relationships suffer. Sometimes people are paying for couples therapy. They don't need couples therapy. One person in the relationship need to be more mentally well, and the relationship will do what it needs to do. Now you're spending money that you don't need to spend because your partner refused to deal with their mental health. In so many areas, your mental health really is your wealth.
That's good. That is so good. So you have to give them some closing tips or tools before we close out the session for the day. I said session, the show for the day. It is a whole session. I'm getting a free session. Okay, that's why I said session. Like I know I'm in a session right now. So yeah, before you close out the session, let me go ahead and stick with that one.
Okay. I will say the first thing, and probably the largest thing that can help you shift at any time, and it's free. I'm giving you free. Even the therapist can't help you with this. Before your therapy can help, you got to do this. Be honest with yourself. That's your first step. The first step for me is not admitting because I can't even admit until I'm honest with me. Do you know that sometimes we tell ourselves lies every day because we just refuse to accept the truth? When I can sit and look in the mirror and say, I'm tired. You got somebody coming by every day saying, "Hey Linda, how you doing?" I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm not fine. But before I can say I'm not fine, I have to accept the fact that I'm tired. We want to go real deep, real quick. Go to therapy. Sometimes people go to therapy, and because they've not been honest with themselves, therapy doesn't even work. And you're paying for the session.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people go to God and they're praying, but they can't get their prayers answered because they haven't even been honest with themselves, let alone honest with God.
Absolutely.
So if I had to give a tip for your listening audience, I would say honesty first. Not a part of the truth, but your real, whole, nasty, ugly, dirty, let's dust it off truth. Because when you are willing to tell your truth to yourself, you're willing to begin to stop polishing that pain, expose it to yourself, and at that point, we can begin to deal with it.
Ooh, this is so good. I hate the time has ticked off. Well, tell the audience a little bit about where they can connect with you at, and any special offers or something about your book, where to get your book and all that other good stuff.
I would say connect with me on social media. You can find me at Lynda Carmouche on all social media platforms. Hit me up, drop something in the DMs. Let me know that you were on, that you saw it. If you have questions, drop me a question. I love to get questions, and I'll dig in deeper so that you can get the answer. You can purchase my book, Polished Pain: The Cost of Burnout and Unresolved Trauma, on Amazon and where books are sold all over, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, anywhere you want, you can order the book. Make sure that you go back to Amazon if you order it and leave me a review because I want to know what you thought.
All right, come on now, girl. You got it going on, don't you? But I want y'all to please hear this, okay? Healing rarely begins with a giant breakthrough. Sometimes it begins with one honest conversation, like she was saying, that finally makes you feel seen. And that's what Girl Talk Mental Health is here for. So I want you to go ahead, connect with Lynda, get her book, because I need to get it myself. Call your friend up and rewatch this episode together with your journals, having a girls' night, sipping on your favorite beverage, your favorite pen, your favorite notebook, or whatever. And we'll see you next time for another powerful episode of Girl Talk Mental Health.
Thank you for joining us for Girl Talk Mental Health. Remember, your mental health is your wealth. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to at Virginia Del Manning.